Hey folks, Fernando, Junior video for the More Survivalist, and in this video I'm going to be talking about my recent trip to London. I've been there a few days ago and sharing a little bit of my experience over there. I'll also talk a little bit about Brexit. I was asked about it several times, and I was asked about it recently, so I'll give you my take on that. And also stick around because I'm going to be going through maybe a few good tips to keep in mind if you're traveling with airplane limitations in terms of what you can have in terms of self-defense tools, which is quite restrictive if you keep in mind air travel and you're not taking any extra baggage with you, just what you take on the plane itself. So yeah, there's probably something that you'll find useful. So let's get to it. First of all, notice how I was always a little bit non-specific in terms of the trip itself. That would be maybe one of the more important tips. Don't broadcast when you're not home, even if you are feeling like tempted to brag a little bit in social media. Look, this beautiful beach where I am now, or I have the Eiffel Tower there. If you do that, you're making it obvious that you're not home, and people can take advantage of that. Even if you end up sharing it later on, at least do it after the fact when it cannot be used against you, right? So that would be the main thing. Then about traveling in general, we love the trip. We enjoyed our time in London. We talk about this with my wife often. Traveling is some of the best spent money ever. You know, you get to see different things. You make these wonderful memories. As years go by, you always remember this kind of thing. You kind of forget all the crap you end up buying. You know, you forget it like in a few days. But trips, man, those always live in your head for years later. So, travel, go around, see the world. Don't stick around. I kind of feel sorry for people that never left their country. I've known people that never even left their own state almost, and that's a real shame. It should be enjoyed, and we had a great time. The museums were great, and then I hadn't been to London in quite some time, and I noticed, some of the changes that people complain about. A lot of this has to do with Brexit and how people feel that it's overwhelmed by different demographics. Well, maybe let me just show you what I mean in just a second. And this is London, and yeah, that's also London as well. So this is London National Gallery, and then we have this as well. So this is London too. And like that it goes. So this is London, right? And this is also London. People sleeping on the streets and that sort of thing. Just a combination of both things, I guess. So yeah, there's that. The demographics have definitely changed. It's been a while since I've been to London, many years. It was not like that, most definitely. So, I mean, man, it is what it is. It's a large Muslim population that you have there. It's local. It's been there for a while, obviously enough. You have a Muslim mayor. You have, and you walk around the streets and you see it. It's part of of the people that live there. Just like you have in some places, some parts of the world, you're walking around and someone approaches you and, has anyone talked to you about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? You have guys like clerics, you have like Islamic clerics approaching you and want to give you a Quran. It happened to me while I was there. So it's all over the place. It's very noticeable, and some people don't like it all that much. But it is what it is. Again, Muslim mayor. It's one of the other things that was very obvious is people sleeping on the streets. There's a ton of that. There's a lot of that. Either with tents or just improvising some sort of shelter. Even in the touristy spots, you see that on the subway, the tube, you see a lot of people like that. And you see cops trying to scatter them away, move them out of sight, but they're most definitely there all the time. And no matter how much you try to push them away and keep them out of sight, it's quite obvious that they're there. And this brings me a little bit on the topic of Brexit and how it has impacted people, which it has. In these last few years, the economy has taken a big hit, even though they've been very discreet about it in terms of how much poverty has raised. But there's no freaking magic wand. When your currency drops 20-25%, that takes a big hit. I know that for a fact because I've seen that in Argentina. I know that when a currency drops 5%, 15%, 10%, 20%, those are big numbers. And what that means for you guys that don't quite understand what this is, when your currency devaluates, what it means is a lot of people drop down the pyramid. Some of those folks that were in the lower middle class may end up becoming poor. And some of those folks that were already kind of poor before that end up in a pretty crappy situation. I've received several emails in these last couple of years about people that were telling me just that from over there in England, in Scotland. Yes, we're struggling, and hey Fernando, we watch your stuff, I read your book, or I see your videos, and we're struggling a lot. You just have to become more creative, find ways of being more resourceful, making more money, because it is what it is. There's just not much you can do about it other than carry on. There's also been lots of companies that left because of Brexit, because they needed to be within the European Union just to continue doing business, because that's the market they were focusing on, and sometimes their regulations require that company to be within the European Union, so they just left. They just took and moved to Ireland or Germany or France. Lots of companies did that. All of those things, and also the instability, the uncertainty would be a big thing. So, talking specifically about Brexit, it's been very polarizing these last few years. There's been people very strongly on either side. There's very rarely people that are more objective. It's always easier to be objective and not care a whole lot when you're not in the middle of it, But when you're there, it's the passions, become more of a thing. So yeah, there's people that feel very strongly about leaving the European Union because of this. Well, many people feel about this because of the stuff that I was describing in London. They don't like that the country has changed so much. They don't like, well, one of the things I notice is people in London hardly speak any proper English. They you was, or double negatives. Or I was talking with a guy, very nice guy, but I was talking with a guy in the store, and he was, oh, so you're from Spain? No, I'm actually from Argentina, living in Spain. Oh, okay, that's so cool. Yeah, I want to go to Spain. And so where are you from? And he said, I'm from here, from London. Yeah, but where do you come from? No, I was born here, right? And you barely speak any English. I can hardly understand. I mean, I'm no a freaking English poet myself, but I can. These guys hardly speak any proper English. It's as if they're Jamaican or some Caribbean place like that, where it's not just a very strong accent; it's poor grammar all around. And I saw it in that guy. I saw it in a kid, a teenager, maybe like a 15, 16-year-old kid. That was definitely there from London. It has nothing to do with even the what is it that they are, if they are immigrants from Africa. This was a girl that was most definitely what would be considered like a white British, according to the type of demographic. And she spoke that same way. She just terrible. You could barely understand what she was saying. So a lot of people felt very strongly about those cultural changes, and that was a very strong part of why they wanted a Brexit. And they want to. The thing is, no one's going to be getting what they want, because that's not going to be changing. It is what it is. The place has become what it is, and you're not going to be changing it because of that. And at the same time, people that wanted to remain in the European Union, you're probably not going to be staying in it, because it's the referendum has gone the way it did, and that's it. You have to deal with that, and period. Now, the crazy thing is, no one is really getting what they want, because those that want to just remain, the remainers are Remoaners now, because they're mourning the fact that they left, and the Brexiteers, that a lot of them wanted this very hard no-deal Brexit. And the Brexit campaign was very strongly about being very polarizing about that, but at the end of the day, people like Boris Johnson, that until now was talking about, we're going to be leaving without a deal, we're going to be leaving without, no, we're leaving without a deal. And this happens just right now, and he said several times that that's our strongest bargaining chip, the threat of leaving without a deal. When you are already saying publicly that that's your strongest bargaining chip, and you don't really mean it, then people understand that you don't really mean it. And it's not that Boris Johnson is using a poor strategy, because they don't need Boris Johnson to say it. They know perfectly well that leaving without a deal is... A lot of people think it's perfectly possible. They don't understand shit. It is not. Not when you had a country living as part of the European Union for 70 years. All of a sudden cutting that off, it's just impossible. It would be catastrophic. Could be done. It's not going to be happening. Boris Johnson just secured a deal specifically because of that, so as to avoid that. Now, at the same time, tomorrow Parliament's going to be having their say, and they could just shoot that down and say, okay, no, we're not taking this, and they're going to be going for another extension. So what is it about Brexit? It's a big old mess that's going to be carrying on forever. Who knows? It could end up, leaving without a deal, extremely unlikely. Don't put your bets on that, because, there are actual bets, and the bets are very much against that outcome even being possible. So don't put much trust on that happening. Could be, but very unlikely. Leaving with a deal, that's possible, but after an extension right now, and who knows. And there's also the possibility of not leaving at all. It could be that they extend this and there's another referendum, and whatever happens, they end up staying in the European Union and just nothing changes, which would be kind of crappy, because people voted in a certain way, and many people would feel that they were dragged back into it, which they would have a claim to that, because in part it would be that happened. At the same time, if you had another referendum, people changed their mind, they also had a right to that, because people change their minds all the time. Boris Johnson changed his own mind in just a few months, definitely. So who knows? It is up in the air. The only thing that is certain is that it has had an impact on how people live, and it was not all that great. So yeah, that's basically it. Now, in terms of some of the stuff that I talked for having means of defending yourself when going out and about, traveling, you're going in these touristy places, which is fantastic. You should not stop doing that, because it's most definitely worth it. Now, some of the things I did were directly from, my latest book, which is Street Survival Skills, that I know lots of you guys have been buying and telling me that you liked it. If you liked it, be a pal and go to Amazon and leave your review. Those reviews in Amazon are definitely appreciated a great deal, because they do help a lot. So if you liked it, and yes, it's a good book, and I'm sure you do like it, leave your review there. And if you haven't bought already, your link for Amazon, my affiliate link, actually, it's going to be down there below to the book in Amazon. With some of the things that I explain is improvised weapons. I talk a lot about guns, self-defense, awareness, security, but in terms of weapons, what you can bring to an airplane or not it's kind of limited. Now, there's a difference between concealed weapons, hidden weapons, and improvised weapons. Improvised weapons are, it could be an old phone that I throw over someone's head. So that's an improvised weapon. An improvised weapon, and something I actually took to a trip, very common. Lots of you guys know about this. Is just a good solid metal pen. This is something that you can use as a Kubotan, as something that is pokey, hard thing. You have tactical pens, but the TSA is very much aware of those. I know that there's been cases on the news that people got into trouble because that being considered like a concealed, hidden weapon of some kind. This is not no such thing. This is just a good old pen made of steel, very strong, and pretty much does the same thing. So why mess with something that's going to be more expensive? These are very cheap, and yes, that's it. It would be ideal if you could take this to a place like London or UK, which you can't because this is completely banned in Great Britain. It is considered an illegal weapon, and you will end up in jail for having this. This would be my advice. These are sold in Spain for like 10-15 bucks in any hardware store. If you are 18 years or older, you can just go and buy one of these, which gives you, of course, a good option. Someone attacks, you have a little bit of a problem, you can spray someone in the face with Saber Red OC spray, and it's quite effective. Unfortunately, not an option. So trying to be creative, some of the other things that you can do in terms of improvising stuff, and this you can carry this on the airplane. A pen, a bag with coins, which as you are traveling in your trip, you will need a few coins, and you can carry those coins in a little pouch like this made out of leather, of strong, sturdy leather, and still a pouch with coins. At the same time, it's for all physical, practical purposes, it is kind of like a sap, like a blackjack. A blackjack sap, in case you're not familiar with it, it's an impact weapon that has been very popular with police 50s, 60s. In fact, it's been so popular and so effective that in many police departments it was downright banned, because many times police officers just went like, okay, calm down, and hit someone in the head, and it is so effective that it can crack someone's skull and end up killing him if you're not careful. Well, even if you're careful, it's just a lot of energy. Just try it a little bit and you see how strong it is. Now, if you do this with a little plastic bag, the bag breaks because of that energy that I'm talking about. It just does not resist the impact. So you want to make something like this out of that leather. You can buy it commercially as well, but I did this one myself. You can do that, and you can have it in your pocket, and you have something to, apply energy wherever is needed. Now, the thing that I enjoyed the most in this trip was my beloved umbrella. This is, I'll leave the link for this one again from Amazon. Yes, it's my affiliate link program. If you buy something from that, I may end up getting a couple bucks, which definitely help. But this is like for 30 bucks. There's also the unbreakable umbrella, which is the definite self-defense umbrella specifically made for that. But that one is like 120 bucks, give or take. I'll also leave the link for that if you want to go with it. I think it's definitely stronger and more oriented. But the thing is this, I didn't want to spend 120 bucks on an umbrella. This one looked very good. And once I read up on it, it's sold not as a defensive umbrella, it's sold like a storm-proof umbrella. But reading about it a little bit more, I read that it has a fiberglass, very strong fiberglass rod throughout. So it's very well made, very nice, very elegant, but it's still a piece of fiberglass with a metal tip right here, which is basically what I wanted. And it's been beautiful having this during the trip. I would have it in my hand. Of course, it's London, raining all the freaking time, so you have your umbrella with you, and you just carry it with you like this, and kind of hard to show, but you kind of keep it leveled, and you move around with it, and people kind of get the vibe that you don't want to have them very close. Some of them will give you kind of like a crappy look, and I don't personally give a damn, so that's all fine with me. But it is just great for that when you're in the subway, the tube, and it's very crowded. You have something to push people a little bit with, and you can kind of corrective behavior with a tip. Not really a tip, but just you keep it on the side of your body, and it just helps you manage the herd around you. Also, if it's a little bit darker on the streets and you see a few people that kind of look a little bit more suspicious, you still have this in your hand, and you bring the tip up a little bit more, and it's kind of here in this, closer to this general area, and you can just or a corrective application of your umbrella. Just great thing. If you're traveling a lot, this is something you can take on the plane without any problem. And yes, in all those places where you just cannot have anything, this is already in your hand and it has a good bit of range, so definitely something recommended. Now, there's really not a lot of stuff you can do for a knife in UK. The laws are very strict and very specific. You cannot have anything that is that locks. If it locks, it is illegal for you to have in UK. You cannot carry that. I mean, you can have it, but you cannot carry it. Yeah, and you cannot carry any blade that is beyond 3 inches. So it has to be a sub 3-inch non-locking blade. Basically, a Victorinox pocket knife that doesn't lock. That's the only thing you can have with you without good reason. Good reason would be fishing, hunting, camping. If you're in the middle of London, or if you're visiting or traveling in the city, you will not be able to prove good reason and you will end up in jail. 6 months to 3-4 years. So it's no joke. Now this is specifically designed so as to navigate around those restrictions. It is just under 3 inches and it does not lock. It is very similar to a locking model that has a liner lock. This one does not. It just folds shut. This is perfectly legal in London. You can have this without that good reason. Now it doesn't lock, so it's really not all that great, but it has a very large guard, finger choil guard thing there, so you can choke on it very nicely. In case you're wondering, yes, I'll leave the link there as well if you want to check this out. This is the Boker Trans 42. I'll see if I find it in Amazon. I don't know if they're even still selling it or not, but if I find it, I'll leave the link. If not, just try to find it somewhere if you can. But this is the model that is considered a UK legal pen knife. That's kind of the way in which they sell it. Guys, that's been all for now. Remember to subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoyed this little video with a few different tips, and see you in our next video. Have an awesome day.